Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard tactics video. So today's video is going to be another sort of fringe tactic, sort of not necessarily hidden concept, but something that you probably wouldn't necessarily come across getting discussed sort of online in sort of regular forums and stuff when you're talking about Warhammer 40k tactics. This is going to be a similar video to the one I did about psychological warfare, psyching out your opponent, putting the voodoo into them. So in that video, obviously, I talked about this real world concept where you psych your opponent out and you make him want to give up. And that concept was it's almost like, if you can make your opponent just give up, even if he's in a good position, then you've won the game. This is something similar, but this is going to be focusing primarily on you, the player. Less about psyching your opponent out, more about you, the player. You, the commander. It's this very key concept of never giving up. Okay. So, there's a lot of... I'm trying to think of how to put this. Basically, the number of times I have seen my opponent just give up. Just go, no, it's bullshit, I'm just going to give up. And, yeah, and the amount of times that I've, been alpha strike, especially happens a lot in 7th edition, the amount of times that I just took an absolute beating on my turn 1, and I just thought, oh, well, this is, that was bullshit. But, and inside, I kind of wanted to give up. I kind of wanted to call the game, go and get a beer, whatever, do the next round, whatever, But I didn't. And I stuck it out. And I turned. And this is not saying that every time you do this, you turn a horrible defeat into a miraculous win. No. Often you'll still lose. But at least you had a chance. And the number of times that I have won games by making my opponents give up. I have won a game by making my opponent give up after halfway through my second turn shooting phase. And this was in 7th edition Imperial Guard, for God's sake. When we weren't very good. And my opponent just gave up. My opponent has an amazing list. Some of you will remember it was Wave Serpent spam backed up by Dark Elder. And it was Wave Serpents, which were amazing. And the Dark Elder with the Venoms in them, and the Venoms had all these these blasters / melter gun things, and it was a fantastic list. But I made my opponent give up in my second turn, and there was so much more. She had a really good chance of beating me. She really did, but she just gave up. She literally, she was on the verge of tears. She just gave up. I felt really bad. You don't want to see anyone don't want to see anyone cry at a fucking Warhammer game. And I kept trying to encourage her to play on. Come on, it's not that bad. You're doing fine. And then I sort of stopped, halfway through. Through after her turn 3, I was thinking, why the hell am I encouraging her to keep playing on? This is a tournament. If she wants to concede, let her concede. And in the end, I was like, okay, fine. Go on then. If you really want to concede, that's fine. No worries. Good game. But that's the power. She and I was seeing the way the game could have gone, and honestly, she was in a pretty good position. Well, she would have been potentially in a good position by turn 4 and 5. I was starting to lose the momentum, but she gave up. And because she gave up halfway through my turn 2 shooting phase, she started making terrible tactical decisions, and her list was helping her a lot, but essentially, the reason why she was giving up, just to give some context so you guys don't think I'm just bullshitting you, I was using Blob Guard, where I had 4 blobs of infantry, 4 platoons, and 2 of them, each one was 40 man strong, plus a load of conscripts out front. I think I had 2 conscript blobs out front. So I had like 250 infantry I'd taken to this tournament. And I had 2 las cannon blobs, and 2 autocannon blobs. 2 las cannon plasma gun blobs, 2 autocannon grenade launcher blobs. That was roughly it. I didn't know I had commissars and psychers and whatever. I had the whole shebang. But she had, I wasn't really... So my turn 1 and 2, I was just... What psyched her out was the fact that I was presciencing, and I was getting rerolls to hit, and I was ignoring cover, and what was it? You know, you could ignore cover with fire on my target. And so all this jink that she had, you know, her army was based around this concept of jinking your way to victory, back when jink was a thing. And she got completely voodooed, you know, and she gave up, and, you know, because of one order, because of one thing that psyched her out. But the point is that she gave up. If she hadn't given up, she could have easily won the game. She's playing Eldar, for fuck's sake. She, you know, practically auto won. So it's this concept of that, you know, it's this concept of never giving up. And the amount of games that I have played when I have been properly on the losing end, and I have fought my way and fought my way and fought my way, and often I've got a draw. Sometimes I manage to eke out a tiny win. But often, and this is a key tournament concept, often I went from getting like smashed to a minor loss or a draw, and that's all I'm promising you with this idea. I'm not promising you're going to turn wins into losses. What I'm promising you is you're going to go from scoring no points to scoring some points, which is key in a tournament situation. Every single point counts, and often if you give up, and there's you know, this is what I'm trying to get across. And often if you give up, there's no you don't get any sportsmanship score either, and it's not good for your opponent. I mean, some tournament players will go there with the aim of trying to make people like just, you know, have the worst games possible, just give up. And if you come across those kind of people, it's almost your sacred duty to not give up, because if you give up, you're letting them win. And it's a big, and they can't really be bothered playing out the full game. So you've got to keep going, especially if you're playing Imperial Guard. Your turns are going to be fucking massively long. You know, you're going to really, you're going to really annoy them. So what am I getting at with this concept? It's really, really important. If you guys want to see a real, you know, recorded on this channel idea of not giving up, playing and playing and playing, and seeing the difference it can make, go and look at my Black Templar versus Death Watch battle report. After turns 1 and 2, the Death Watch player was on his ass. I thought I had the game in the bag. He kept playing. He didn't give up. A couple of turns went his way. A couple of turns went against me. And he went from what was looking like a royal thrashing to a draw. It came, and I was sweating. I was having to keep my cool. I was having to, you know, scrabble around for objectives. I was pulling every trick out of the book, and that was what I had to do in order to stay in the game. And he was playing and playing and playing. He never gave up. I never gave up when things started going against me. And although what that allowed me to do is it allowed my opponent to scavenge a draw, and it allowed me to salvage a draw. So see how it works both ways. This is the final bit I want to move on to. Just because you're winning and then things start slipping away from you, don't panic, don't give up, keep playing, keep doing your absolute best to win. Okay, because it's very easy to come from that high of winning, that, oh yeah, just smashing them, and then if you have a bad turn, you know, you have one of those turns where you don't hit anything, you don't kill anything. I mean, how many times have you guys seen my battle reports when I've gone, yeah, that wasn't the turn that I wanted, not, you know, a mixed bag for the Imperial Guard, they only did 1 wound to a tank, you know, or 1 wound to Mephiston, and it's like, holy shit, that was a terrible turn. You know, but I did 1 wound in my entire army. You know, you've seen me do it, but I didn't give up. And often I come out winning on those games. Often I come out winning or drawing, you know, and that's the key concept. You know, if you have a terrible turn, don't give up, because it's really easy to go from that high, have a terrible turn, and it stings all that much more, and you lose your morale, you lose your mojo, you get the voodoo put into you. So this is what I'm trying to get into. It's less about the voodoo. I know the voodoo concept has sort of leaked into the video, and I'm trying to keep it separate, but it's this concept of never giving up, because you can absolutely change the result of the game. Absolutely. And it's going to lead into another video I'm going to do, which is a really important one, which is, and I'm not going to talk about it now, but it's a concept that some experienced players are very familiar with, and it's called playing for the draw. It's this very important concept in 40k, where if you put 110% into playing for the draw, you often can do. Often get what you want, okay? But, you know, anyway, to sum up, it's really important to never give up, either when you're winning or when you're losing. If you're losing, it's really important to play the game out, because opportunities will arise. Your opponent can have an absolutely dire turn. You can have an absolutely ball-bouncingly good turn. And all you don't need a lot of luck. You just need things. You just need to keep playing, because often these Alpha Strike armies that will come in and spank you, come in and delete 500 points of your army, maybe sometimes more. Often, once they've blown their load, it's game time. That's the time to get in there. And also, it's this really key thing, which is, as Imperial Guard, you're often going to go second. Which means, as Imperial Guard, you're often going to end up playing a 2,000 point game with about 1,750 or even 1,500 points. That's how much you expect to lose. Okay? So don't give up. Keep playing. Keep fighting. Create opportunities. Play your fucking heart out. And if you do that, it's very possible to turn that loss into a win. And it's more than likely you'll turn an absolute crushing defeat into a minor loss or even a draw. Okay? Just got to keep playing. And likewise, if you have an amazing turn and it starts going to shit, don't give up. Okay? If you start feeling yourself panicking, take that second, grab a beer, grab a Coke, grab a soft drink, grab a water. Sometimes you just say, right, sorry mate, just why are you doing your movement phase? Let me just nip to the toilet, kind of thing. Fuck it, if he moves his models an extra inch, whatever, it's cheating bastard. But that's not the point. You go, you send yourself a couple of deep breaths, you come back, you don't give up. You'll start rolling with a bit more confidence. I have found that if you roll your dice when you're panicking, the dice feel it. The dice gods feel it. Maybe there's some science out there where if you're just chucking dice rather than rolling them properly, they don't roll as well. I don't know. I'm sure there is some studies out there, but don't give up, because often your opponent might have a bit of a streak of good luck and it'll run out and then you'll win anyway. Okay, that's really, really important. So, I hope you guys, and the last thing I want to say is, the important, we've already covered about you can create opportunities. We've already covered about every point matters in a tournament. But you know what really matters is the social contract you've almost entered into with your opponent, especially if this is a friendly game. You don't want to turn up. I absolutely hate it. One of my big bugbears with sometimes in 8th edition is when Guard, have a good shooting phase and you do a lot of damage to your opponent just chucks a wobbler. You can see the look on his face. You start saying that's fucking pointless, blah 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 blah. You've entered into a social contract. This applies to both sides. If you give up early or your opponent gives up early, it cuts the excitement short. Sure, your opponent may not be able to recover. It may be he's going to lose. He's guaranteed to lose. Maybe you somehow wiped out 1,000 points of his army in one go. Maybe you did that. A 2,000 point game. Or maybe you lost 1,000 points. Let's look at it from my point of view. The latest Eldar cheese comes out. Whatever the cheese is, the latest cheese list comes out and deletes 1,000 points. So you're just playing against a horde of Dark Reapers or something crazy. It's your job to see it out to the end, because you've got to, you owe that to your opponent. He's taking the time out of his day. You're taking time out of your day. And sometimes those epic moments occur. Sometimes. And this is a story. Obviously my stories are kind of anecdotal evidence, I understand that. But this is a story that I wouldn't have to tell. I wouldn't have to tell it if I hadn't just kept playing. I knew I was going to lose. Back again in 7th edition. I've got lots of stories of me losing from 7th edition because, god damn it, we all know what 7th edition was like for the Guard. But let's play against possibly one of the hardest Eldar lists out there. It was, Wave Serpents, a few Guardian squads, but it was like Wraith Knights and Hemlock Fighters and Avatar and Vol's Wrath D batteries. It was gnarly. And I was playing my 250 infantry army. And I was getting smashed. And I had several turns where, I fired I I think I fired 16 autocannons at a war walker and got a whole point. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it was just terrible. And I had my army in these 3 castles. And, you know, the left flank just started getting crushed by these Wraith Knights. You know, absolutely crushed by them. And the right flank was getting crushed by sort of Wave Serpents. And all that was left. Mostly, there was some scattered elements on each flank. My opponent thought there's no point in worrying about those couple of hard dead infantry squads. And, you know, that single platoon off. There's no point in worrying about them. And they started surrounding my final bastion, which was my... final bastion had these 2 platoons dug in to cover, and they were just firing left, right, and centre. And we were absolutely. I was looking at my guards, and I was just thinking, you know, it's crazy how you can you know, you put these feelings into these models. But I was thinking, I'm so fucking proud of you guys. You know, you're going down like men. You know, I can just imagine the panic look in their faces, but they're not giving up. They're still fighting for the Emperor, reloading lasguns. Fuck it, the lasguns aren't even hurting the Wraith Knight. There's no point in rolling the dice, but the autocannons pounding away. You know, I put all my firepower. I finally managed to bring down one of these 2 Wraith Knights, but the other one was coming in. I was getting blasted by Hemlock Wraith fighters. But like, if you remember, I mentioned those few scattered elements that my opponent, those things he's left. It's my Steel Legion. I had a Steel Legion platoon. And they saw an opportunity. In front of them was a squad of Guardians. I charged in, my platoon officer and this infantry squad. The platoon officer, he went in first. He ate the Overwatch, but the second squad managed to get in. I think a couple of squads died on the Overwatch, but you know, one squad managed to pin the Guardians, and the second, you know, almost full squad went in. They went into the Guardians. It was like an 11-inch charge, and I made it. And the fury of the Emperor was in the Steel Legion. They literally, every single attack hit, every single attack wounded. My opponent just failed his armor saves. He just got butchered down, just literally torn limb from limb. Next turn, he's still ignoring him. He's like, well, whatever. It's next turn, but he forgot that his warlord was right. You know, was about another 10 inches away from what I just killed. I got another like ridiculously long charge in against his warlord. Got in there, and my sergeant with his orc head and his chainsword it was stupidly impossible. I must have had a priest or something in there because all my attacks hit, all my attacks wounded. I just remember him going in a challenge face to face. That was it. I challenged his Farseer, and I hit and I wounded and I just killed her. I just killed the Farseer. Got Warlord. And this was a league game, and the league game worked, but it was based on kill points and this mission, and that's sort of every point you got went into your overall score. Like, it wasn't a matter about wins or losses, it was just every point you earned. And the fact that I got Warlord, I got Line Break, it was 2 extra points, ended up putting me above someone else in the league. But that's not the point. The point is that I played to the end, and we had these epic moments. We had these moments where my final remaining elements, this castle led by my warlord and this Lord Commissar screaming out orders, finally managed to start punishing the enemy. Finally, there was that turn when my opponent thought, holy fuck, I've been dominating all game, but he's kind of pushing me back. If this goes on for a few more turns, random game, if this goes on, I'm not going to guarantee to win this. And it was great seeing the doubt in my opponent's face. And it was great, that epic moment when an Imperial Guard sergeant who had no right to live challenged the Farseer, somehow survived the attacks, and killed her in return. So that's why you have to stick it out. That's the point. You've got to do it. You've got to do it, because you get those epic moments. So this video's gone on longer than I expected. I actually, that final story was like 3 or 4 minutes. I didn't really expect to take that long. But it's just this feeling I wanted to get into you, this concept I wanted to instill and get across. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I really hope you guys have sort of been enjoying these sort of fringe concepts, these different ideas, these things that don't really get discussed when people are talking about tactics. Everyone knows not to give up. They don't really get discussed. So Of course, leave lots and lots of comments, but you know, if you've got any of those epic stories when you didn't give up, you played it through, and maybe you got the win, or maybe you still lost, but you got that epic moment that you and your mates always talk about. That's what the kind of comments I want to see. That's what I want. I want to read some epic battle stories, and I don't even mind if you lose. I don't mind if it's an epic loss. Sometimes they're the best. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, leave lots and lots of comments, and I'll see you guys next time.